When Triple H took over WWE Creative, fans hoped the game would create the next generation of stars who would define the next era of WWE. Instead, what we've witnessed is a graveyard of wasted opportunities, buried momentum, and a creative wasteland where even the most overperformers are left to rot. Triple H's regime hasn't just failed to create new stars, it's actively destroyed the careers of wrestlers who were already on the path to becoming something special. From main eventers and legends lost in the midcard to rising stars buried under nonsensical booking, this is every WWE wrestler destroyed under Triple H's leadership, starting with none other than the man who went from the Bloodline Hunter to Cody's personal punching bag. On the road to WrestleMania 39, Drew McIntyre was positioned as one of the most dangerous threats on the entire roster. McIntyre had a crystal-clear mission and a character arc that fans could invest in. His feud with Roman Reigns and the Usos established him as a legit monster who looked like he could dismantle the Tribal Chief's empire. But then Triple H took over, and everything that made Drew McIntyre special was systematically stripped away. Instead of continuing the bloodline narrative or building Drew into the monster he was becoming, Triple H decided to feed him to Cody Rhodes over and over and over again. The losses started piling up. Each defeat chipped away at the mystique that took years to build. What was once a terrifying presence became a punchline. The worst part is how predictable it all became. Every time Drew and Cody were booked in a match, fans knew exactly how it would end. And now, with their upcoming match on SmackDown, Drew has one final chance at redemption. If he doesn't defeat Cody Rhodes and reclaim some semblance of his former credibility, then Lord have mercy on what's left of his career. However, it's not just current stars who've been fumbled under Triple H's reign. Even established legends haven't been spared from his horrible booking. Randy Orton is a multi-time world champion, a future Hall of Famer, a wrestler who has main-evented WrestleMania, kicked legends in the skull, and defined what it means to be a top guy in WWE for over 2 decades. When Orton returned from injury at Survivor Series, the ovation was deafening. Fans were ready to see the Viper sink his teeth into meaningful storylines and remind everyone why he's one of the greatest to ever step in the ring. Instead, Triple H has given Randy Orton absolutely nothing. Under Triple H's creative direction, Orton has been stuck in limbo with no consistent storyline, no clear direction, and no satisfying payoffs for the few angles he's been involved in. The most glaring example of this failure is the never-ending tease of a heel turn on Cody Rhodes. For months, WWE has been planting seeds that Randy might betray his former legacy stablemate. Fans have been desperately waiting for the RKO out of nowhere on Cody, but it never comes. And after months of teasing with zero payoff, nobody cares anymore. This is textbook Triple H booking. Drag out a storyline until the heat dies, then quietly abandon it without explanation. Randy Orton deserves better than to be lost in the shuffle. For a performer of Orton's caliber and legacy, this treatment is nothing short of disrespectful. The Viper has been defanged, and Triple H doesn't seem to care. But while Orton's booking has been terrible, what Triple H has done with LA Knight is an absolute case study on how to destroy a wrestler's momentum. During the summer of 2023, LA Knight was the hottest name on the roster. His catchphrases were echoing through every arena. His merchandise was flying off the shelves. Fans were chanting his name in every city. Knight had that undefinable spark, that lightning in a bottle moment where everything just clicks. All Triple H had to do was pull the trigger. Instead, he hesitated, and that hesitation killed LA Knight's momentum dead in its tracks. Rather than striking while the iron was hot, Triple H buried him in the midcard. And perhaps most insulting of all, Knight was left off the War Games match despite spending months feuding with members of the Vision. LA Knight should be a world champion by now. Instead, he's trapped in creative purgatory, watching his moment slip away while Triple H keeps pushing Jey Uso. However, Knight isn't the only breakout star whose momentum got derailed by Triple H's horrible booking. Under Vince McMahon, Austin Theory was being positioned as the future of WWE. He had the look, the athleticism, and he was handpicked to be the next John Cena. It felt like Austin Theory was going to be a main event player, and it was only a matter of time before he reached that level. But then Vince stepped down, and Triple H immediately dismantled everything that had been built. Theory was stripped of his momentum, failed his cash-in, and got thrown into a tag team with Grayson Waller. And to make matters worse, WWE teased a split between Theory and Waller for months with absolutely no satisfying payoff. Eventually, Austin Theory disappeared from television entirely. Months went by with no explanation. When he finally returned, it was as part of the Vision storyline. How Triple H handles Theory's booking with the Vision will be the final test to see if Theory ever reaches the top of WWE or ends up being another casualty under the game's creative hell. But based on Triple H's track record, the future doesn't look so bright. because it's not just upcoming single stars who've been ruined by Triple H. Even legendary tag teams have paid the price. The New Day is one of the greatest factions in WWE history. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Big E revolutionized tag team wrestling with their genuine chemistry and the ability to connect with audiences in a way few factions ever have. But then Triple H decided they needed a heel turn. Not because the story demanded it, not because fans were tired of their act, but purely for shock value. In typical Triple H fashion, the turn happened suddenly with no long-term plan attached to it. Since turning heel, the New Day have been floundering in the tag team division with no meaningful stories. Their heel characters feel forced and lame, and there's no reason for fans to care about this version of the New Day beyond the nostalgia of what they used to be. They're stuck in forgettable feuds, fighting for tag team championships that Triple H has made completely meaningless. The New Day deserved a proper ending to their run as one unit. Instead, they've been sacrificed at the altar of Triple H's ego and his obsession with swerves that serve no purpose beyond generating a few Twitter reactions. But if you think the New Day situation is bad, let's not even get started on how Triple H massacred John Cena's legacy. John Cena carried WWE on his back for a decade from 2005 to 2015. He brought back mainstream attention to wrestling. He granted more Make-A-Wish requests than any other celebrity in history. This was the guy kids grew up idolizing. Hustle, loyalty, and respect weren't just catchphrases. They were principles that defined his character and his real-life contributions. When Cena announced his retirement tour, fans expected WWE to send him off with the respect and dignity he deserved. Instead, Triple H gave him the worst retirement tour imaginable. Cena's heel turn was retconned without any proper explanation. Triple H booked him in random matches against random opponents with zero buildup. But the most unforgivable sin came at Cena's final match. After building an entire career on the never give up motto, after inspiring millions of fans to persevere through their darkest moments, Triple H booked John Cena to tap out to Gunther. John Cena, the man who kicked out of every finisher, who overcame impossible odds time and time again, who made never give up a global movement, tapped out in his retirement match. The symbolism couldn't be more insulting. It basically dismantled everything Cena's character represented. Cena deserved a send-off that honored his contributions to the business. Instead, he got treated like just another guy on the roster, someone Triple H could use for a few viral moments and then discard without a second thought. John Cena gave everything to WWE, and Triple H couldn't even be bothered to give him a proper goodbye. But it's not just the legends. Triple H's horrible booking hasn't even spared his own NXT creations. As one of the 4 horsewomen, Bayley helped build the foundation of WWE's modern women's division. Her matches in NXT are still considered some of the best women's wrestling has ever produced. She reinvented herself as a heel and proved she could thrive in any role WWE gave her. Bayley was a cornerstone of the women's division, someone who could be relied upon to deliver in big moments and elevate whoever she worked with. Under Triple H's leadership, she's been completely lost in the shuffle. After the Damage Control faction split, Bayley has been directionless. And it's not just the lack of proper feuds that's insulting, it's how Bayley is treated in WWE's ecosystem. Check the posters, check the advertisements. Bayley is barely featured despite being one of the most accomplished women on the entire roster. This is a woman who has held every major women's championship. She's carried entire divisions when needed, and now she's just an afterthought. But hey, at least Bayley still has a job on the roster, unlike this next superstar who got over on his own only to be booted out by Triple H. Karrion Cross was an absolute monster in NXT. His presentation was unlike anything else on the roster. The ominous entrance with Scarlett, the aura of danger he carried, the way he dismantled opponents with calculated brutality. Cross was a force of nature that felt like a final boss in a video game. He dominated NXT and looked like an unstoppable wrecking machine that would terrorize the main roster for years to come. Triple H himself booked that run in NXT, so you'd think he understood what made Cross special. Instead, when Cross hit the main roster under Triple H's creative control, he got lost in the shuffle. The worst part is that Cross actually had momentum during the build to WrestleMania 41. Fans were invested. The pieces were in place for him to finally break through. This was the perfect time to pull the trigger and at least give Cross a mid-card title run that could reestablish him as a legit threat. All the ingredients were there. All Triple H had to do was capitalize on the moment. But he didn't. Triple H let the momentum fizzle out, kept Cross spinning his wheels in meaningless matches, and then decided the best course of action was to fire him entirely. Triple H personally built Karrion Cross into a dominant champion in NXT. He knew what the character was capable of, and yet, when given the chance to utilize him properly on Raw or SmackDown, Triple H failed spectacularly and then released him while fans were behind him. This is the perfect example of Triple H's biggest flaw as a booker. He hoards talent, brings in performers with huge potential, and then has absolutely no plan for them once they arrive. But while Cross's situation was frustrating, AJ Styles' booking has been straight-up disrespectful. AJ Styles is one of the greatest wrestlers to ever live. When he joined WWE under Vince McMahon's regime, he was immediately positioned as a top star. Styles wasn't treated like an indie guy who needed to prove himself. He was presented as a main eventer from day one, and the booking reflected that respect. AJ became WWE champion with a reign that lasted over 300 days. He consistently main evented shows. He was featured prominently on the card. Vince understood what he had in AJ Styles and made sure the entire world knew it too. But under Triple H, AJ Styles has been demoted to just another guy lost in the mid-card shuffle. The World Championship reigns are gone. The main event programs are gone. The treatment as a top-tier star is gone. Now AJ is stuck in forgettable feuds working solid matches that nobody remembers a week later because there's no story attached to them. He's become exactly what Triple H has turned the entire roster into. A good worker who puts on decent matches but has zero character development and zero meaningful storylines to make fans actually care. What makes this even more tragic is that 2026 is reportedly AJ Styles' final year in WWE. This is the last chance to give one of the all-time greats a proper send-off. The last opportunity to put him in meaningful programs that honor his legacy and contributions to the business. And yet, there's absolutely no indication that Triple H plans to do anything special with AJ's remaining time. Based on everything we've seen from Triple H's creative direction, AJ will probably work a few more forgettable mid-card matches, maybe get a win or two, and then quietly ride off into the sunset, probably jobbing to Jey Uso without getting the farewell he deserves. But while Triple H might not give AJ the farewell he deserves, check out this video next where we book the entire AJ Styles retirement tour in 2026.